Well, I've been up all night talking to, ironically enough, a Gen Z girl that's been awake all night. She just messaged me about 30 minutes ago that she was going on a shopping spree. And this is the way that I'm going to put this. So on Thursday, I was given the heavy task of building a department's infrastructure, computer systems. And when my boss suggested that I needed to use Gen Z for the project, I made a noise like, And he's like, "What? What's wrong with Gen Z? He's your, what, third or fourth one I've hired for you." And I'm like, "Not useful." And when I told him he wasn't useful, my boss got mad. I could just tell in his tone that I didn't want to use Gen Z for anything. They're completely useless in the workplace. And I told my boss that he exhibits a lot of autistic behavior that cannot be corrected. And I'm not going to hold someone's mental problems against them. But it's all the other problems that you have, the attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, the clinical depression that's thrown in there that's being covered up with phony happiness. You think I can't see right through it? Like every day that he shows up, I can see him trying to put on this like phony facade that he's, oh, I'm not depressed, I'm going to hide that from people. I'm like, you're not going to hide it from me, man. I know. Look how old you are. Look at your financial situation. You've worked in fast food your whole life and haven't been able to hold a job in your entire life. This guy's bounced around from one minimum wage job to another and finally found a place that was going to put up with his behavior by just ignoring him. So, at the end of that very short conversation with my boss, he just said, "Let's just change the subject." That's how we dealt with the Gen Z problem. So that leads me to my short paragraph that I wrote on everything that I personally see. This isn't something, an article that I'm going over. This is my personal experience with them. So I wrote up 4 talking points. I wrote a script about it, and then I wrote my own, intro and outro. But I'm not going to use any of that. I'm just going to use the talking points from everything that I wrote because it kind of aligned better with a video. If you guys are wondering why I haven't made a video in a few days, I think this is my fourth day. It's corporate America is very tough. The last 4 days have all been over 10 hours, and today I'm expecting to spend that much. I'm gonna go work out, eat something, then go try and buy some groceries, and I'm gonna come home and then I'm gonna go straight to the office until I get done because this has to be fully operational tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Anyhow, without further ado, let's get into our talking points. The 9 to 5 workday is a relic of an industrial age. I have a problem with this every single day. And this isn't just a gripe with the 9 to 5, it's the way that Gen Z does it. My Gen Z believes that his lunch starts when he actually starts eating. So he literally will not punch out on the clock until he's sitting down actually eating his lunch, even if that takes half an hour to 45 minutes. In his own mind, lunch doesn't start until he eats. Once he's done eating, then he punches back into the clock. And I've tried to explain that to his supervisor on several occasions, and he just says he doesn't understand. He says he's only taking an hour lunch. That's what he keeps telling him. And I'm like, I don't know if it's just because you live in another state that you don't understand this behavior, but it's very strange. Every day, an hour to an hour and a half, I have to deal with this question. I'm bored. Can I go home? I'm like, dude, you're not going to ask me every single day that there's nothing to do, so he wants to go and work from home. What does that mean? Tell me what it means when there is nothing that you can do. No part of your job description has any aspect of it that you can work from home, but you want to work from home. And no matter how many times you tell them, it just doesn't click. The disconnect creates the clash between generations seeking meaningful work and a system that prioritizes control over creativity. There's no creativity in this job. It's mindless, it's repetitive, it's boring, and it's a little bit more than minimum wage. That's what this job is. And unfortunately, Gen Z can't get past the fact that they're not going to pay them $500,000 a year to be part time and show up whenever you feel like it and work on whatever you feel like it as well. And that becomes really difficult to deal with people like this because they're not children, but they behave like adults, right? Children that look like adults. They don't like what they're doing. They're going to act up. They're not engaged in what they're doing. I'm not saying that I'm engaged at all, but I have a hell of a responsibility. I have to coordinate four different moves to four different sites this coming week, and then I had to coordinate movers with the corporate office, with my office. These things take talent, and that's something I could never give to Gen Z. So, one of the points that I actually had from up here from my original talking points, which for some reason this didn't catch. So, I had this one that came up from my writing: adaptability and communication. It's worth exploring why Gen Z might struggle with adaptability and communication in corporate settings. Many grew up in an era dominated by digital communication, remote learning, which has limited their face to face socialization, professional experience. It's not that they're incapable, but the environment that they've been exposed to don't prioritize or develop these skills naturally. Sorry guys, I haven't done this in 4 days, so I can feel like I'm out of practice. So, my next talking point up here was the soul crushing workplace. The monotony and lack of creativity in corporate settings are significant issues for younger generations. Like I said, if I'm not paying attention to what he's doing, he will climb into his office and he will get on his Atari and he will play video games. That's how he deals with work boredom. And I'm like, this whole job is nothing but sheer boredom. And they just don't get that work isn't supposed to be fun. Their dissatisfaction might not be a weakness, it could be a sign that the system itself needs reform. This is what I keep hearing in all of these rebuttals to my writing. Oh, it's the system's not designed for Gen Z. Well, many of the older generations didn't grow up watching TikTok, right? They're the TikTok generation, the attention span, which is no attention span. These people don't pay attention to anything long enough. They don't like being bored. And unfortunately, the workplace is 8 hours of the same mindless task. Even my job started getting on my nerves a couple weeks ago when I came back into the office and I had to deal with yet again the same problem. Same stolen systems, and the person who had their equipment sent to their house because they're going to work remote. Then they call the corporate office and they're like, "Well, my computer didn't get here." I'm like, "It's because your neighbor stole your computer." It's like, "I need another one." I'm like, um, okay, so I'm going to send your neighbor another computer to steal if you're not going. And this is the worst part. Is they're supposed to be working from home and yet they're not home. Do you know why they're not home? Because chances are they're working another job. That's usually what happens. I've had so many pieces of equipment returned to me for a person that's supposed to be working from home that they try 3 to 5 times to deliver, but they're never home. And so it comes back to me and they're like, "Well, I didn't get any sort of computer." And I'm like, I can see right here they tried to deliver it on this day, on this day, on this day, and you weren't home. Well, they'll give you some phony baloney excuse about how they were out doing something with their kids, and like 5 times, you're working another job. Anyhow, moving on to my third talking point here: corporate gestures. Token gestures like pizza parties or casual Fridays are often come across as tone deaf when employees are overworked, underpaid, and underappreciated. You know what the first thing they tried to do when they gave me this huge job of building an office by myself? Oh, every day put in a requisition for pizza for lunch every day. so that we can cover your lunches. And I just like, you know what I said to my boss? No, thank you. Because that's how I feel about corporate pizza parties. What workers truly need are tangible improvements, better pay, meaningful recognition, opportunity for growth. Highlighting the absurdity of these surface level gestures can resonate with many. I just wasn't going to have it. They talked about reimbursing for all of the mileage, reimbursing you for your time, reimbursing you for having to pay for parking over and over and over again. I think I ended up paying $15 Friday a night to get out of the parking structure because it was after hours. Yeah, it's all those little things that, that beat up your paycheck and you're just kind of left. It's like there's no one else. You're having someone whose normal job isn't doing this, but at the same time, a pizza party? Why don't you buy pizza? That should make you feel better about losing your whole weekend and having to work late at night. A pizza party with Gen Z. Oh, I couldn't imagine. I, and Gen Z's enthusiasm for this project was minimal to none because he likes structure, right? He likes to be able to leave every day at the exact same time. He goes to lunch at the exact same time. If for some reason he can't go to lunch at the exact same time, he will start freaking out because he has certain times that he has to be with his pet. He has to do certain things with his animal every single day at a particular time. And when work interferes with that, he goes into the inability to cope with the situation kind of rage. And I've tried to explain this to people, but unless you've been around someone who is autistic, like with the glitter's the perfect example. If you drop glitter around a person who's autistic, they will freak out. That's how he is about the schedule. That's why he bugs me every single day about wanting to leave before his appointed time. So, also, talking point number 4, the lack of genuine friends in the workplace is a symptom of a deeper issue, a system that pits workers against each other through competition for limited promotions, layoffs, or simply the draining nature of work itself. This alienation is why so many people dream of escaping this environment altogether. You wouldn't believe how many terminations are sitting in my email right now. I looked through between Christmas and Monday, there must be at least 30 people in there that had no idea that for Christmas they were getting laid off or terminated. I saw one lady that I looked at her name and oh God, it was a gut punch. I was like, this is what you got for Christmas, lady. Termination. Involuntary. It's terrible what corporate America does to people. Like, really? At least they let you stay through Christmas. The day after Christmas, you're out of here. Which, again, goes to show the heartless nature of a corporation. So, moving on to our next talking point, the myth of laziness. Older generations often label Gen Z as lazy or entitled, but this narrative ignores the deeper issue at play. Gen Z is pushing back against a system that no longer works and is finding an alternative path through side hustles, freelance, and entrepreneurship. Really? I thought these were the people that wanted $500,000 to come into work and screw around. I don't see them doing a side hustles. My Gen Zero will never work more than 40 hours a week. He thinks it's barbaric to work for more than 40 hours a week. And I'll tell you guys, as a person that works a lot, my average day is between 10 and 12 hours of work every single day. Weekends, I don't get them off. On the weekends, I'm working on YouTube. Most of the time that I'm doing live streams, most weekends you guys get 3 videos. And that's at least 2.5 to 3 hours of production time making those videos, plus a live stream. I'm spending at least 5 to 7 hours each weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, making YouTube content. That's not a person that has weekends. I haven't had a real weekend off years now. Maybe, I don't even know. I can't remember the last time I said, oh, you know what? I'm just going to relax. Every day of my vacation, of my Thanksgiving and Christmas vacation, I've spent here 6 to 7 hours a day doing YouTube. And once I stopped spending that much time here because I had to spend time at my real job, my views dropped like a stone. My views have dropped by 80, 90% just not doing the channel in the last few days. 90% drop in viewership. You know what that means? 90% drop in revenue from YouTube because I have to work at my corporate job and there's no time for this. I get up in the morning and I have to start getting ready to be at work. Tomorrow morning at about this time, I'm going to be in my little car and I'm going to be shuffling my way down to the South office where I have to coordinate the large move to Tucson. There's no one else there but me. And that's it. Unfortunately, when you don't have enough people to run a department, you think I should be there moving things for another department? No. But the people who work in that department don't want to come to work. So that leaves me in a bind. The main corporate office calls up and it's like, who's available? There's no one available. That's really what it comes down to. It should be the operations manager from my current office. But are they going to call him? Nope. When I went to go check to see if he had his keys, his master keys to be able to open my area and the other offices across from me, they lost those keys. I was furious when I found that out on Friday, that I went out of my way to make certain that they had keys and they lost them. So now, regardless, morning, noon, night, holiday, it's just one guy now, me, to do that work. And it just puts you on edge like you wouldn't believe. Because what else are you supposed to do? They're going to look around. It's like, well, unfortunately, there's no one here to do any work, so it's you. I mean, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm wasting my Sunday working. Let's see. There's a bottom little area here to this bullet point. What's perceived as laziness is actually a refusal to settle for jobs that are exploitative and soul crushing. Exploitative and soul crushing. Doesn't that just describe the regular workplace? Gen Z doesn't want to be exploited and they don't want their soul crushed, but they still want money at the end of the day. It's a tough nut, man. I have no idea what's going to happen to Gen Z when they all get fired. Like, if it were up to me, I would have seen the work, what do you call it? The work ethic. Day one, he wouldn't have been here day two. Unfortunately, they know that about my position and they don't give me the authority to get rid of him. I just have to put up with him. And I'm not very good at putting up with him. Let's see. So corporate environments often crush creativity and innovation in favor of rigid, repetitive processes. Gen Z, a generation raised on self-expression, finds this environment stifling. You know who else finds this environment stifling? Millennials. But guess what? We don't have a backbone, so we never fought back. We were always the generation that just said yes. And unfortunately, when we were looking at the younger generation saying no, well, guess what? We said yes. They're saying no. We have to deal with them as the people that are responsible for these corporations. And what are we supposed to deal? How do we deal with this behavior? You don't. You let them burn themselves out and then they go away. By sidelining younger workers' ideas and input, companies not only alienate them, but also miss opportunities to innovate and evolve with the times. The corporation doesn't want to evolve. The corporation likes the fact that there's only one class of people who actually make money. The people whose offices I'm currently building, the C-suite. They're the people that know how to make money by making certain that all of their workers are 100% disposable. They don't want retention. They want workers to leave. That's the way that corporate America deals with pay raises. The attrition is part of the equation. You don't want anyone getting too used to it. And Gen Z is not a generation that's just going to get used to it. Unfortunately, they're just going to be part of the attrition. Termination after termination after termination is just going to keep happening because they think that they can make things better. And my heart goes out to those people that want to change the system. I've been working in the system my whole life. It's crushed my spirit, it's crushed my soul, it's crushed my willingness to live. It's taken everything from me in my life. I don't have anything left other than going to work. And as much as I enjoy doing YouTube every day for 4 weeks this holiday season, I knew eventually that I was going to be back here in corporate America because you don't escape. You may go out for a breath of fresh air, but it was always waiting for me. I knew that when I came back on January 6th to work, that my soul was going to be instantly crushed back to where it was before I left on December 16th. It was only a matter of time. My believing that I had time off was never real. You're just waiting for, you know, the corporation to come back into your life. And here we are talking about it yet again. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys are having a good weekend and looking forward to going back to work in the new year. Or many of you who've never left. Sad that a lot of you work in retail, jobs that don't give you time off. But it is the way of the world, and there's only one way out. Yesterday, when I was getting ready to leave the new corporate office, I found these individual pods in one of the hallways. They were like phone booths. I was going to make a video about it, but I thought it might give away what office building I was in, so I decided not to. But they were just single rooms, like the size, like truly, there's a chair in there and you can sit down in there. That's all the room there is. And I was thinking, you know what, that would make the perfect place to be able to self-terminate. You just climb into one of these booths, you hit a big red button, and then it just flushes you down into the sewer, never to be seen again.